live. I'm gonna share this on my page too. All right, welcome back once again, Chestnut Checkers. Man, we got a little doing something a little different. We got Chestnut Checkers for brunch this morning with coffee
Brunch.
instead of the water that I'm usually drinking when we go
Stone
live.
Mountain.
We got the Stone Mountain. We got the Stone Mountain mug.
Hey,
Now people got to
that's
go
that
watch.
take that takes it back to like episode 4,
Like yeah, like 3, 4, like
5.
first things first. If y'all been rocking with us that long, then mm. Yeah. So we definitely coming out of nowhere probably once again. We don't really plan uh publicly when we gonna go live, but we always figuring it out as we go. Oh, that's good. I got
Yeah.
hazelnut creamer and honey in my coffee every morning, and that's the best way to do it. Trust me.
Okay. See, I've been consistently trying to take sugar out of my diet whenever I can.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be one little scoop of sugar, a little bit of creamer. I like my coffee like my women. Sweet with a little bit of color. You know what I'm saying? So I can't drink, black coffee, but I could drink a little bit of color.
It's
So
funny
I
that
just
Malcolm X, when he was like still with the Nation of Islam, he said that the only thing that he like integrated was his coffee. Everything else had to be everything else had to
yeah, I
be
mean,
black. I don't like, I can't do it black either. I mean, I've done it before, but it ain't like it's not my preference.
man, it's crazy. You don't think you're gonna be drinking coffee when you're a kid. You're like, it's gross. Then
Gross.
you get older, you're like, man,
Can't have
coffee, coffee is more addictive than tobacco. I mean, it's
for sure. Because I never
it,
been addicted to tobacco, but I'm definitely hooked on this coffee. But anyway, man, while we're here this morning, obviously, and if you read the description, if you saw my Facebook post that I posted like late last night, I kind of said a few words about my brother, Marlon. But 7 years ago this morning, I woke up and I was just completely numb. You know what I'm saying? This is like the day after, aftermath of that night and finding out, he had passed away was just like a blur, a dream. But that next morning, and I had a little time to myself. I could really it really just kind of like sink in that I couldn't ever really text him again or have any other communication. So uh, you know, I feel like it's only right that that we since he is the pretty much the reason that we met. He's the reason I went to Mississippi Valley State. He did a lot of things around that campus that helped to build up what we had during the time we were there, and we wouldn't have ever met probably had that not. I probably would have been at Grambling with my other brother Denmark, which was I pretty much had one foot in the door there, but with Marlon being the sports information director uh, under athletic director Lonzo Hardy. Shout out to Lonzo, Mr. Hardy. Uh, that I end up making a decision to go to Valley. Met all the other friends that we got. Till to this day, and I'm forever thankful for that. But you know, I guess I would like to ask you first, like what would you like to say? Kind of start off about my big brother Marlon, bro.
um
Putting you on the spot.
no, man, that's good. I tell you what, definitely, one of the smoothest, individuals I've ever met. Just had a very, you know, good sense of just composure. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When I talked to him, he was always just very well spoken. It seemed like he definitely thought before he spoke on things. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But just his tone whenever you talk to him, it always made me feel welcome. You know what I mean? And you know, I could remember, like I said, meeting him at Valley when he was working there when I got there as a freshman, And then, of course, like we said a few days ago, I mean, we were neighbors. You know what I mean?
Right,
We
right.
were literally
I honestly
neighbors.
forgot about how close proximity y'all's apartments were, because a
I
lot of
mean, it
times
was
when we would
like,
come hang out with you, I'll just be like,
uh,
all right, I'm gonna go holler at Marlon right quick. I'm gonna come back over here.
yeah, right, right. I mean, it was right there. But I guess, you know, he just had a very good way about him, you know, that made him easy to talk to, and easy to talk to anything about, really. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I used to ask him things that maybe I didn't feel comfortable asking you about, you know. You know,
Right,
hey,
right.
how do I approach this? You know, hey Marlon, while
Hmm.
I got you, man, you know, what do I need to do if I get to school and this is going on? He's like, listen, but no, just,
That's it.
you
That's
know,
it. That's it.
just I mean, I could remember you know, me and my wife, and you know, we sat next to him and his wife and kids at your wedding, you know, at the table. And
Yeah.
um everything from when he lived out in Denham Springs, you know, I stopped by his house a few times on the way to go see you, you know, just to see him and his wife, and see the two boys and stuff, you know. But like I said, just you know, he just made me feel um always very welcome, and you know,
Yeah.
but definitely had a sense of smoothness about him that, you know, all the Reed brothers have, you know what I mean? But he definitely had a different way about him. You know,
Well, that,
you could tell he was the older brother of Daniel and Malcolm. You know what I mean? Because he
yeah.
had to put up with a lot.
And Denmark too, can't forget about him.
Yeah,
Denmark
Denmark
was
too.
Denmark. He was doing his Grambling thing back in
Mm-hmm.
our college days. So he wasn't around as much. And Daniel always been my tag along. Sorry, little brother, but
Right.
it turned from tag along to ride or die. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the same thing, but we get that from our pops, honestly, bro. Like, he's just a smooth dude, and
Mm-hmm.
always laid back, chill. Never really seen him get very animated. I'm a much more animated person than Marlon or my dad. And Daniel's probably the most the most energetic out of all of us. But he also has his most majority of the time is laid back and chill. I think it was sports that would bring it out of all of us, that kind of get us excited, and when that passion level come in. So, and Marlon kind of always, all the things that you said, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's he was kind of a big brother to all of us. And I've had the conversations with all of our teammates, and they reached out to me and said what they feelings and memories and things like that. And I run across people all over Baton Rouge all the time that, man, you one of them Reeds. Man, Marlon was my boy. I saw one of his friends in the barbershop, one of his classmates. Shout out to the Southern Lab class of 94, all of y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. But I saw one of his classmates, and he was like, man, Marlon was my boy, man. He was like a brother to me. And, man, give me a number, and, let's stay in touch. And, I just want to, things I be thinking about him remind me. I see y'all sometimes, it remind me of him. Like, man, just hit, I want to be able to reach out and connect with you guys, because that's what, my connection with him was, that's the only way I can still keep it, is connecting through y'all, because, he kind of like raised us on the slick too. He was 8 years older than me. So,
Hey, quick
go
briefing.
ahead.
So, just for the people that don't know, can you give them the timeline of the ages of Fred, Denmark, Marlon, you, and Daniel?
Okay. So,
And poor Miss Reed, she just wanted a girl so bad. After Daniel, she was like, you know what, I'm done.
yeah.
But anyway,
So,
go ahead.
yeah. All right. I'll put it all the way in perspective, that my parents were born in 1944 and 49 in Baton Rouge. They were born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So they meet at Capitol High in 1964. My dad is a senior quarterback. My mom is a freshman. He snatched up, married her. He ended up going, he ended up going to Vietnam. When he came home, they got married, and something like that. And in 1970, Frederick was born, Frederick Dominique Reed. In 1975, 5 years later, Marlon Jermaine Reed was born. In 1980, Denmark Douglas Reed was born, and in 1983, Malcolm Patrick Reed. 1987, Daniel Toussaint Reed. So from 1970 to 1987 is the timeline of my parents having children, all boys,
Okay,
across
let me figure this
generations.
out.
so
So
Marlon
50,
50,
and then Daniel's 33.
Just made 33 in November.
Whoo! Let me tell you something, Mr. and Mrs. Reed. Shout out to y'all, because man, that's an investment right there.
Yeah. I mean, I really, my dad said he was ready to stop after 2, which would have been it for me. But I'm pretty sure it was the chasing of a daughter that my parents kind of kept having kids, kept trying, kept giving it another go. And they started pretty, their first child was born. I think my mom's was 21, my dad 26. So they wasn't like too old at that time at all,
Right.
Younger than me for sure. So in the last child, my dad was 43 when he had his last child. My mom 38. So, that's it ain't what I want. 5 kids, way too many for me. 3 would be my limit, and after that, no way, because I saw what having that many kids, it's just a lot of work, and I appreciate my parents for doing the work that they did to make sure that we was all right, because they did a great job for sure.
So if Marlon would have been 40 this year, 45 this year. So I know that Fred, 10 years older than you. Than Denmark.
Yeah,
10 years older than Denmark, and 13 in you. So even further than Daniel. So was Marlon more so, kind of the older brother that y'all could relate to on another level, just because of his age?
Definitely.
And look, even when, this was, I know we're old now, but 15 years ago, 16, when I met him, actually 18 years ago, 18 years ago, like he had so that would have made him
27. Dang, he was young.
Like he was when I think about him
27.
then, I'm like, man,
God, that's crazy.
He was a lot more mature in his late 20s than probably I am now.
Man, for real.
But
for definitely when I was 27 compared to he was 27, not even close.
Yeah. Well, he was, like I said, he was a visionary. You know what I mean? I think he was a visionary, but also I think he was someone who wasn't afraid to take risk, and he proved that by taking a job at Valley and seeing a promising future in there. And he was a part of, arguably the greatest, 3-4 years of enrollment, athletics, and notoriety that Mississippi Valley State University has ever had in its 70-year history. Okay, sorry, Totten and Rice fans, for those few years.
Right.
As a collection as a whole, he had a lot to do with the basketball, the athletics in general, and the enrollment, of course, with help from others, but and even outside of work, he was, back in 06, maybe 07. When did he leave Valley?
He left Valley in 04. That's when they got married in 04.
And he was one of the first that moved, Denham Springs out of Baton Rouge. I'd never even heard of Denham Springs. And he said, yeah, but it's right before, you get to Baton Rouge. Said, okay. And,
right off 12. I had heard of Denham. Denham Springs didn't have a good reputation. So I never liked the idea of moving to Denham Springs. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, but that has become a very populated area, right?
Sure,
in the past,
for sure.
Like
and
15...
a lot more black people have moved out of Baton Rouge into Livingston Parish in general.
Right. So, just having that sense of, needing to maybe relocate. It's like I said, just part of being, a visionary and having the guts to act on something when you think it might be
For
best
sure. For sure.
for yourself. But anyway, yeah. So
Yeah. So like thing about it as you was talking about how, he was that brother that we could relate to. It was things like the fact that he still played video games with us, all day, all night. It started off when I was little. I watched him beat Mike Tyson on Mike Tyson Punch Out. That was like unbelievable, bro, because that's something that I didn't, I did end up doing after trying and getting knocked out on Mike Tyson Punch Out probably 500,000 times. And then, I was able to do it, but it was me seeing him do it when I was like 4 or 5. Like, I'm gonna do that one day. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna beat Mike Tyson too on this game. And so he, that's just one example, but he plays Street Fighter and all the other little nerdy games but Madden too and all that. So, that's kind of where I got my gamer side from, was like, okay, that's fun. Now I'm gonna be better. He's good. I'm gonna be better than him. And I end up always beating him anyway. But so that was one thing. And then from a hip hop standpoint, like he definitely had the biggest influence on my life. And he would find different artists to like put a lot of people different on. His favorite rapper was Ice Cube, right? So I grew up, that's how, me loving Ice Cube because he loved him, made me a Raiders fan, it made me love California and all that and love West Coast hip hop. But it was when he discovered Goody Mob and got on that Soul Food album and Outkast too, the whole Dungeon family, that was really, him, as
he
far
was
as
a
hip
big
hop.
Outcast guy.
Oh, the biggest that I knew, the
Yeah.
biggest that I knew, and he loved MJG too because the M in MJG is, his name is Marlon Jermaine. I forget the last name too. So he loved MJG and 8 Ball, and UGK, all the South rap, all the East Coast. He was huge on Jay-Z and Nas and all that. So he kind of helped to formulate my love for hip hop, as well as because he was a lot of people who was growing up our age wasn't listening to like KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane and Cool Mo D and all this other older stuff. And Fred had a big influence on him with that too. So they kind of grew up when hip hop was first getting started, Run DMC and all that. So I was on another level as far as my peers because they was just listening to what was going on in, but I was always listening to the old school original hip hop stuff that was coming out. So, but the Soul Food album gave us a message about our blackness and about avoiding the traps, avoiding jail, they made it cool to not be a thug, but also to have some street knowledge and credibility. I'm not saying that no one else had done that, but it was the first time a rapper from the South, some rappers had from the South was doing it, and it connected to us in a different way, So those are the kind of influences. And then he played ball in high school, and and was really good. Played free safety for Southern Lab, and Denmark ended up playing the same position as Southern Lab when he got to high school. So like, from sports to music to video games, those are the three things that connected us the most. And then people always would, when I would be out in the streets, you look just like you must be related to Marlon. Somebody named Marlon Reed. Y'all look just alike, man. So we
Right.
always, because we had the lighter skin out of all the brothers. Me and Marlon was the most bright skinned ones, but we weren't. We still was brown. But people used to call him, oh, that's your the bright one. That's that brother. I'm like, bright what?
Bright Reeds.
The bright, so we was the Bright Reeds. Our name both was M. We had, and in our family, so my dad is Fred, my oldest brother is Fred, Marlon and Malcolm, Denmark and Daniel. So those, and it's weird because Denmark and Daniel are like darker and taller, and me and Marlon, I was shorter growing up, but we was like lighter than not light skinned, but lighter than everybody else. So those types of things like automatically made us connect with one another. And I just bought into it. And he was like, hey, if you're gonna follow me, then you're gonna do exactly what I tell you to do all the time. So and it went all the way up to seeing him and his relationship with Illyria and me trying to like looking at that like, okay, this is good. That looks great to me. I think I could do the same thing. And so, me and Carissa ended up getting a relationship, and I was trying my best to like be like Marlon as a husband, as a boyfriend, and all that. So it was like he was just a person that I could look right to. He gonna be honest with me. He not gonna let me slack off. He gonna tell me what's right and what's wrong, and hold me accountable. But also he gonna model for me what a black man is supposed to look like. Not saying that I didn't have any other role models, but he was like my friend and my brother. So it was like I'm gonna trust him over everybody. Obviously, my dad and I have a good relationship, but a father-son relationship is way different than two brothers. And there's certain things, like you said, you would talk to Marlon about that you wouldn't talk to me about,
Mhm.
and vice versa. So that's just like how, when people look at me, they and listen to me talk and the way I act and things that I do, I would say about 60% of it I got from him, minimum.
Well, I know it's I know it's something that you think about often. Especially this time of year when it comes back around. Um, uh, First off, you know, that like you said, grief and death and certain situations that we're naive to when we're younger, become more of a um, you know easier thing to deal with. I guess I don't know if I'm putting it the best way, but um, as even as fathers, we try to shelter our kids from being exposed to certain things that will desensitize them to certain things of life. But also just um, I think the older we get, the we all handle death in a different way. But um, you know, I know the way that he passed was probably difficult to handle in the moment. And myself, I've had friends and family members uh, who have died in similar ways. You know what I mean? And you'll just kill yourself asking yourself why. And what if, and that would just drive you crazy. But it's
So,
it's no one really knows but him and his wife. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's fair for any of us to maybe judge or say this had happened because none of us know, and none of us ever will know. But um, how have you dealt with that? Over the past 7 years. What advice would you have to others who maybe face that? Because my wife is, as you know, someone who had lost a sister in a similar way.
right, right.
And it's anyway. Go ahead.
All right. So and please pardon me if my emotions get the best of me.
No, 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 it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, for sure. I'm here to kind of heal myself and kind of cleanse myself and talk about it because it is such a touchy subject in general. But when something like that happens personally, it's it's hard to really grasp for sure, and it's very sensitive to everybody involved. And I've spoken, I reached out to a good bit of people before I decided it was like, man, how you feel about me going live and talking about what happened with Marlon publicly, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mind it because I think it's important to tell the story, and I kind of use it as a testimony too. But what happened with my brother, for those of you who don't know, that him and his wife died on the same day because this is crazy to say out loud still to this day, but he killed her and then killed himself. So it was a murder suicide. And you know, I remember getting that call. One of somebody called Carissa, and then she told me, and I just looked like that look. Just it's like everything sinks out of from your head to your feet, you're just empty. You know, it just empties your body out, and you just feel numb. And in that moment, it's a lot of anger. It's a lot of pain. It's very, very, very. It was very, very painful, and especially in that moment. And I was at home, so I had to go to my mom's house and see her, and seeing, putting my eyes on her. That's a baby. You know what I'm saying? So, what happens with her is, like, how can I comfort her now? I ain't thinking about myself no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at my brothers, and then I'm thinking about the kids. What's up with them? Are they okay? Or, so many questions that don't have answers. Just like you was just saying, like you start with the question why, right? And then you think about all the things leading up to it, conversations that y'all had, or if there were any signs or things that you could see. But he was dealing with depression, like, based on I never really took depression kind of as serious as I think I should have until this happened. But I definitely understand it to be different than I did before. It's really, you can't. It's unpredictable. It's an unpredictable condition of what a person may do when they feeling depressed, and when they feeling like everything's going against them, and everything they worked for their whole life to build is gone. So just dealing with it over these last 7 years, and it's just been difficult. But also, man, I look at it like, all right, I had to flip it once I came back to myself. Like, all right, what can I do also to honor him, to make him proud of me, to keep pushing forward, because that's all you can do, man. People, it could have been any other way that he could have lost his life, and I would have had to still continue mine. You know what I'm saying? So life does go on one way or another, man, if you wanted to. And that's just another part of it. But also, on the whole other side of it, there's another person who is a victim here, and they have a different side of their family. Even though she is a part of our family too, there's a whole nother family that's totally hurt, and you know they don't understand either. They got questions, but they definitely like looking at him, and then when they see us, they see him. So there's an anger that comes with that on the whole other side of the family, that it's just a natural response to it. Like, I mean, if somebody done something to one of my family members, I'm gonna be pissed at them. That's gonna be the first reaction. There is a path to forgiveness. I've been trying to work on that, you know what I'm saying, and be the best example I can be, to say, hey, look, you could look at the Reed family and say, none of us did it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? None of us had anything to do with what happened. And if we could have done something about it, we would have, So we can only pray and ask for forgiveness for my brother on his behalf, because he's not here to speak for himself. And whatever they had going on personally, we can't we don't know everything. We had a few conversations because they had split up right before this had happened anyway. So we knew that they were going their separate ways and trying to figure that whole situation out with lawyers and all that. So the court system is a whole another situation. But yeah, man. Um, I think is I think what the advice that I would give people, if they find, first off, if you find someone who you love that's in a relationship that has gone bad, you need to get as involved in in conversations with both parties as much as possible. And it might not be comfortable. And this, it's not very comfortable for me to talk about this publicly, honestly. But we always said before that we want to be comfortable and having quote unquote uncomfortable conversations, and being open with and transparent with the world. That's why we started this show. So first, like, just have conversations with both parties to try to see what kind of reconciliation can be done, because the two members who are in it, they clearly don't know how to reconcile on their own. So they're gonna need support, and it from for the relationship and just for themselves in general. Secondly, if the worst case scenario does take place, then communication definitely has to be there, and people got to work together. If kids are involved, they are the top priority. Their well-being in the future, financially, uh, emotionally, for sure. How they gonna go through school and navigate that, and I think because once it happened, I kind of started doing a lot of research about, what is the best thing for kids to do. And the best thing that I read as much as possible was to continue with the routines that they already had in place. Don't try not to change the whole way everything operates. That's what I read. So, I don't have the answer to that, but the backlash from these situations, man, if anybody ever catches themselves feeling that way, the ripple effects of January 15th, 2014, what happened in Denham Springs, spread out through Baton Rouge and beyond like wildfire, and everyone was affected immediately in one way or another, and everybody had questions, and it's just a strange position to be in, but it is a reality, and I wasn't as aware about domestic violence and murder suicides before, but then as I start paying attention, I'm seeing these happening in the news over and over and over and over and over and over. And just last year in Baton Rouge, a cop was killed, trying to report to at a guy who had been doing, killing a woman's family and everything. So it can get real quick, and people need to there's a serious issue I see in the Black community. I don't really see it, in the news as much with white families, but I know it's happening, and it's happening in families of all races. It don't discriminate, because depression is real, and relationships that go bad, it happens all over the place. So that's just part of life. But if there are other ways to handle the situation, people just need the support, and people need to just you can't assume, just because we talked about how Marlon's personality was totally opposite. He never been arrested. He never got in trouble in school, really. He had a couple fights growing up. Who didn't? But he never was in, there was never any phone calls of reports or of abuse before. So that the fact that happened right away was the first thing. It caught us all off guard. And, this is just me telling what my version of the story, what I saw, and, how I experienced it. So I can't speak for everyone else. I'm sure everyone else who was involved closely to either Marlon or Illyria got their different experiences and stories, that led up to this too. So I respect all of that. But, I can speak for myself, and I'm willing to do it because I don't want to see it happen to anyone else, and I want the kids to be, to get the respect they deserve. I want my brother to get the respect he deserves. I want my sister-in-law to get the respect she deserves, and their legacies to carry on in a positive way, even though the way their lives ended was definitely, a tragedy. So that's me summing it up pretty much right there, Trey.
Well, I applaud you, man, for putting that out there. And I wanted to touch on two things you said. The first was about depression. I think, depression happens, I was one of those people who was brought up thinking, man, I would never, ever be depressed. Not one, there's no way, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
depression's not real to me.
Uh-huh.
And there've been moments where, I also have felt like, I think depression comes from a person realizing where they are in their life is not where they either planned or thought that they would be in that moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
You kind of pause and look around and go, how did I get here? I don't deserve this, or I didn't plan for this. And, but I also think depression comes from, it's that when you're sitting on the fence and you hit that moment where you start thinking about it. And there's two things people can do. You can pick yourself up and you could figure a way out of it, or you can, just self-pity and drive you further into depression. You know what I mean? Make excuses. And trying to relate that to what you spoke about with Marlon and the relationship. Same thing, maybe you're in a marriage and you wonder how you got to this point in your marriage. You wonder, you thought, man, how did I get here? I never wanted it to be this way. I had had better intentions, because nobody ever goes into a relationship, a marriage, a family, thinking that the worst is going to happen.
Right.
And to touch on the second thing you said, if you're depressed and in a relationship, especially a marriage, when you have kids, there are so many more people that are going to be impacted from the ripple effect of your actions. And I agree 1,000%. If you know someone, or if you personally are having relationship issues, look, divorce is nasty, and going through court system and custody battles, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. You know what I mean?
No, sir. Right.
Like literally, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. The emptiness that one can feel from going through that is can put you in a state of depression.
For sure. It definitely, exacerbates the other stuff that's going on.
Right. So, and you're exactly right. You have to depend on those closest to you, your family, your friends, anyone who is willing to be there for you and to keep your head up above water, and to remind you that, it will all, time will heal, and things will work out eventually. But those who are alone, when you're alone and you don't have those around you, Satan starts to creep in your mind and starts to mess with your emotions, and even you, like I said, to end on that, your faith, if
Right.
you are alone and don't have family and friends, and talk to God, man, he'll give you some answers in a way or two. But anyway.
Yeah. And I just want to add in, like, if there are therapists out there, you can go find some help if you are alone. And that's just the main thing that I think that people need to do, and try to, find some help from somewhere, because we can't, we are social creatures, we need each other. All of us do, to support each other. And and if whatever it is, time will heal it. And whatever differences a person have, like, it's 7 years later, man. It took me 7 years to even, like, it's not saying that I haven't made a few Facebook posts and shouted my brother out and talked about the memories that we had, and try to do as much as I possibly could. And I'll never have a bad word to say about my sister-in-law either. But their issues that they had between themselves that caused what happened is between them, and that ain't my story to tell. That ain't for me to speak on, because I don't know. And I can only speak on what I know about it, which is nothing and not enough to say anything anyway. So you got to kind of mind your business a little bit too. And it's kind of an elephant in the room for me and my background, but people get to know me, and people understand who I am and my purpose in life, and what drives me is helping people. So when they find out, what happened there and how that affected me and influenced me to work even harder to help other people, then it can be used for good. That's how God works. You know what I'm saying? Like, God can use me. He kept me here for a reason, to do these things, to be there for my family, and to be there for other people who might need some support. And I know for a fact that before 2014 and after, I've been helping out as many people as I could and influencing young people to do positive things. Obviously, I ain't perfect. I don't claim to be, but I feel like I know what my purpose is in life. And I feel like some of that was revealed to me, because that next morning, when I told you how numb I felt afterwards, when I woke up and just was reflecting with myself, I feel like God spoke to me then. And I kind of like looked myself in the mirror, picked myself up, and was like, all right, it's time. Today is a new day in my life, that I can decide what's going to happen in the future. So, like, you can use you can use the negative, the most tragic things in your life as a catapult to push you forward. And instead of because I could have let depression creep into me right then too, but I prayed about it, meditated, pushed my pain to the side a little bit. Not saying I'm ignoring it, but it's just like, all right, I'm gonna harness the pain that I have to motivate me and push me forward. And I think I've done the best I could do. One of the things that, as the days roll by since he passed and things come up and memories and, he not there at Christmas and things like that. I think what affects me the most is when I see my sons and they be like, I show them pictures and they, oh, that's Uncle Marlon, that's Uncle Marlon. What happened to him, blah, blah, blah. How do I tell them that story? Whew, that is something that I don't know the answer to. That's something I need help with. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna reveal itself to me one way or another.
Yeah, you got time on that. You got time to cross that bridge when it comes to it. But
I'm glad
no, man, look, and man, I feel like we start to get talking and it opens up all these new issues. I mean, mental health and is something that is real, and especially during these COVID shutdown times, domestic violence is on a rise right now, and child abuse and things of that sort. But even financially, some people can't afford to go talk to someone, and I feel like certain local leaders could do a better job of promoting that within our healthcare system.
Right. That's something.
I think that healthcare is not only about providing insurance for people that get injured, but it should also be, providing therapy for those that need it. And same goes with, instead of throwing them a prescription for Valium and hydrocodone or whatever you call it, why not throw them a prescription to go get some physical therapy or something to massage their back out, and we all are, we see the commercials. Are you feeling depressed? Do you have trouble getting up in the morning? Why don't you try popping one of these pills, And
then look, hold on, let me do like the fine print. This pill may cause death, depression, suicide. If you feel suicidal tendencies,
and then about 9 months later, you hear that commercial. Have you or a loved one ever taken by Lexingum? If so, please contact the law offices of Schlepperslegal Fountain.
Right. That's crazy, bro. Big pharma. That's
right. Big pharma. But why not? And like I said, we've been talking a lot about things, and Biden's. I've seen this new COVID relief plan he's putting out, and we said, man, look, people cannot simply say, make excuses. And just like you talked about with Marlon, you could have made excuses. You could have went down into a rabbit hole and you could have fallen off the face of the earth, and use that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people still use COVID as an excuse to feel depressed or to, act a certain way, and they're just hoping the government's going to send them a check and all is going to be well. But it's just like we said with the whole button.
Check too, but
I mean, I'd like to check. I'm just saying, but once the check gets there, what now? You know what I mean? You still gotta pick yourself up and do things and find a way and make a way.
Right.
But I definitely wish that, in regards to domestic violence, things like that, we should provide that in terms of a healthcare, provide that. And then some people may do, but
there are options out there for people who are less fortunate, but are they being promoted is the question, you know what I'm saying? Or I can't remember ever hearing the words healthcare or mental health care out of Donald Trump's mouth. I don't know if I heard it from Biden either, but I know that I hear it more from the left than I do from the right about mental health issues and dealing with depression and creating programs for people who, who might need that kind of support. Not saying that I don't hear it from the right at all, though, because I do, but I hear it more from the left, and it don't really matter who says it. It really don't. If they left, right, middle, up, down, diagonal, it just needs to be said, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be provided for people who might be in these situations, So, I mean, and it needs to be promoted. It is provided, but it needs to be promoted more for people, even as a preventative measure that you might feel perfectly fine in the best mental shape you ever been in. But you never know, you could be one day away from something happening and changing that completely. You know what I'm saying? So if you prepare for it, then you be in a better situation. And I honestly, I did go seek some counseling after what was going on to deal with it, because I needed, man, because I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it was just like I missed like a month of work. I ain't really lose no weight or nothing like that. I ain't lose no appetite. I'm a fat boy at heart, but I did stop exercising. I never really picked it up consistently since then, and at that point, I literally was at the gym right before I found out. I was working at the gym, teaching workout classes and participating in them at the same time, and I couldn't continue that afterwards. So, but and I think that affected my mentals also, because I was in a really good spot. And like I said, you just one day away, and you can't control what anyone else does. I have never
Mm-mm.
done nothing to nobody, but I felt an amount of guilt for
I know,
what
I
my
know.
brother did. You know what I'm saying? And I can't, but I couldn't blame myself for that. But I
Well,
did.
you start asking yourself, could you have done something
Right.
to prevent that?
Right.
Because maybe, like I said, part of you, anyone around, and may feel a little guilty. Look, I want you to, if you could, man, just in this little session on how your niece and two nephews are doing. I know the two nephews were from their marriage,
Mhm.
and Marlon's daughter was from previous. But if you could just kind of maybe tell how they're doing right now, before we close.
All right. So Katura, my niece, is really, really thriving in her college years now. She graduated from high school in 2016. Whole family we drove to Atlanta where she was living, and that's where she resides in Georgia. So she became the president of the NAACP chapter at her school. She went on this trip to Israel or something. She went all over the country, like speaking and in these conferences and seminars with young leaders of the country. She was on Roland Martin, his TV show. I don't know if anybody follows who Roland Martin is, but he's kind of a left-leaning guy who does a lot of political conversations with a lot of famous people, really. So she was featured on there earlier this year. So she's all over the place doing great. As far as my nephews, part of the situation is the relationship with them is not as close as it was at
I know.
all.
Yeah.
But there is contact between us, and they are Marlon just made 13 and Austin just made 10. So they middle school, you know, they in the church, they are, very smart, just like they always were. They are well taken care of. And they doing great. As far as everything that I know about them, they're doing great. Marlon looks just like his dad. I mean, spitting image. He has that same kind of vibe as his dad does too. Austin, on the other hand, is a more open kind of kid, and he's a hoot for sure. He's hilarious, and he's very, when they see me, they are very excited. When we talk, they get happy, and I know they feel that connection. So we trying to reestablish it as much as possible, but just the circumstances of the situation. Uh, it did like break some of that up, and you know we working on it though, and I give much credit to their caretaker. Now I ain't gonna bring no one else into it, but that was her Illyria's sister is who they live with now, and she's taken care of them, and they well taken care of. So I appreciate her for everything that she does on that level. So they doing great, man. I'm sure their dad is proud of them. I'm sure that that they gonna be successful, and everything that he dreamed of for them, they're gonna achieve it, and everything that they want for themselves, they're gonna achieve it. And they was already a lot being instilled in them at an early age, and their foundation of their parents raising them in the same household, working together to be the best parents they can be. That is proven that they did a great job. But despite whatever else is going on as far as parenting goes, they had that down,
Mm.
master. And I'm another thing that I model myself after. as a parent too. And I think I'm doing a pretty damn good job myself, my wife and I.
Shit, I don't know sometimes, man. My dog Ava, she be killing me, dog. Uh, anyway,
Yeah, she just
no,
had
but
to
listen,
take it.
man, I got a lot of respect for you for coming on and talking about that, and hopefully it will, give some other people some assurance that uh, things can get better,
So
come out of
they will.
tragedy.
Yep.
Can I get out of here on an my favorite MLK quote?
Yeah, but look, let me do a last shout out to
Okay, go
all
ahead.
Marlin people. So I
All
want
right.
to shout out Southern Lab High School in general, and Southern Lab Class of '94 specifically. Southern University. I want to shout out the Reed family, the Cyrus family. I want to shout out the Valley family, who everybody who was there with Marlon White. The Southern Digest, where he worked there. Who am I forgetting? The Sports Information Department. Marlon was voted SID of the year in 2003 for the SWAC. So that's a great honor. Shout out to Mr. Hardy for hiring him, taking a chance on him. And I'm probably forgetting some other people, but that's all I can think of right now. Just if you know me, you know him. Tune in. I mean, like, leave a comment with a good memory. That I kind of like always want to do that every year, is to kind of leave it like that. So I'm gonna be peacing out. I'm gonna let Trey close it out with the MLK thing.
All right. MLK Day is Monday.
That's right.
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy.
That's
So
it right there, baby.
I think that was just that popped up on my memories today.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it was fitting because that's true in every aspect of life, So
It is, man. And look, I it always come back to Kobe for me, but I want to bring this up because this is kind of what happened that kind of made me another motivation that made me want to open up. Vanessa Bryant posted yesterday because Kobe died on January 26th, so I lost both of my big brothers, two of my big brothers in this month. But she said, grief is a messed up cluster of emotions. One day you're in the moment laughing, and the next day you don't feel like being alive. I want to say this for people struggling with grief and heartbreaking loss. Find your reason to live. I know it's hard. I look at my daughters and I try to push through that feeling for them. Death is guaranteed, but living the rest of the day isn't. Find your reason. So, that's motivational for me. I appreciate she's a strong woman dealing with that, just like my mom's and everyone else who's involved who dealing with, both of the deaths of my brother and my sister-in-law. So, and everyone else who's dealing with any kind of loss in other ways, just know that, you got to find your reason to keep pushing it. And I was blessed and fortunate to find mine like the next day. That don't mean it's going to go away, but that just means you can go forward and take it with you. That's
for
it,
sure.
bro. I got to go to baseball practice now. Hope I don't be
Marlon
late.
Reed, I'll talk to you soon, man. Hey, tomorrow, go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Ew, no way. I can't pull for Tom Brady.
I'm going for all the B's tomorrow. The Bills, the Bucks, the Browns. And
you're gonna be disappointed.
I like chaos, man.
I ain't mad at you. All right, y'all. We signing out. I gotta go.
All right, see you.
Peace.